It's all about your self journey. It's your life. It's you that wakes up every day. It's you that goes to bed. What you do in between that, it's all up to you.
All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 53 of the What You Don't Hear podcast. I'm your host. My name is Ross Theisen. I'm a creative director, a filmmaker, a doer of way too many things. And one of those things is, of course, making this podcast. So if you're new around here, welcome to the show. Grab the most yellow thing near you, pull up a seat, because we're about to get to know someone a whole lot better than we did before. So what I do on this show is I sit down with a guest and I chat with them about their life story, covering a little bit of everything, including mainly what their journey of chasing their passions and goals has really looked like, covering all the ups, all the downs, all the thoughts and feelings in between, digging into those sides of people's stories that we don't often get to hear. So before I introduce the guest this week, we've got some housekeeping to take care of first. So I want to remind you to find the follow and subscribe buttons on iTunes and Spotify. Hit them up, ask them what their rate is to create you something, and then they'll ask you what your budget is, and then you just ghost them completely. So make sure to do that. Also, be sure to follow the show on social to keep up with all the releases and selfies that I post with Vin Diesel. Yes, that is real. I did post that recently. Go check it out. You can find that around the internet at WYDH Pod. And of course, maybe more than anything, if you enjoy today's episode, please, more than anything else, share it. Tell somebody about it. Show someone, whatever it may be. If you think you know somebody who should hear this show, tell them about it. So the last thing here, and it's still so cool that I get to say this, very, very cool. So this episode is brought to you by Promo West Productions. And I've got some cool shows to tell you about because, yes, the gigs have returned. So if you're looking for one to go to, check out one of these upcoming concerts taking place at Newport Music Hall, brought to you by Promo West. We've got Yoke Lore on April 3rd. Sure hope I said that one correctly. We've got Bob Moses on April 12th, Gang of Youths on April 24th, and rounding us out, you've got Biffy Clyro coming to town on April 27th. And yes, I said this last episode, but I'm always going to clarify here. Yes, I know we are just about to enter March, and all the dates and all the shows that I just told you about were in April. But hey, we're promoting ahead of time. So if you feel like you missed one in April or you want to know what's going down in April, a couple options for you. You can jump back to the last episode of What You Don't Hear, listen to me talk about them there. Or, of course, if you want to check out any of those shows you feel like you missed, any other ones that maybe I didn't talk about, you can just jump to promowestlive.com. Or if you want to grab tickets to anything, visit axs.com for more info. So let's get to the episode and this week's conversation. So I sat down with my friend Dan Mitchell, who is a photographer from right here in Columbus and all around just one of like the nicest guys you could ever meet. We talk about how he got into photography, how he started his own business within all of that. And honestly, we also talk a lot about his health and weight loss journey that he went through a couple years back. And seriously, this dude made such like a rad life change and transformation that it was a part of what inspired me to get back into the gym last year and kick my own health goals into gear. So let's dive in. You can hear all about that story and the story of Dan in general right here in episode 53 of What You Don't Hear in my conversation with Dan Mitchell. Good to go.
Good to go.
I'm going to take this squeaky lid off before we get in the middle of it. And you're telling your story, and I'm like, squeak, squeak, squeak. Over here.
Oh.
Okay, dude, are you ready to make this happen?
Let's make it happen, Ross.
Dude, Dan, it is so good to see you again, dude. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ross, for having me, man.
We were just talking before we started recording.
Yeah.
I don't remember the last time that we saw each other.
I don't remember either, to be
honest.
honest.
I remember there was a music thing, like a Columbus music thing here, actually, down at Strongwater, and I remember seeing you there. And since then, I don't know if there was like a random show that we might have ran into each other at or what, but it's good to see you again because I feel like so much stuff has happened since the last time you and I got to even see each other.
Exactly.
And even then, it wasn't like a real formal like chat, and I don't think you and I have ever really gotten to do that.
Not really.
Honestly.
Yeah, because I know we've been trying to do coffee and stuff, even with things settling down a little bit more. It was more of just, trying to find the time to actually chat. So I'm glad I'm here.
Yeah. What better place than a podcast? So, dude, honestly, I just kind of want to start with catching up with you on your fitness journey.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure maybe at this point you're probably tired of people being like, dude, I get it. I did some stuff. But man, like literally 100% you inspired me to get on my game. So 100% all the stuff.
I can help one person.
Yes. No, all the stuff that you were sharing online during it all. I mean, it has been really just like a dope transformation. Like, dude, you look great.
Thank you.
You have made like awesome progress.
Yeah.
I'm stoked to have seen that. And again, it did something for me. Seeing it, I was like, I need to get my shit together too. And now I actively go to the gym. I do all this stuff. Like, it worked. So, like, I know we're kind of diving off the deep end right at the beginning. But walk me through, like, what was the fitness journey like for you?
So, I started a fitness journey, and before COVID, it was, I just decided to make a life change because I was, my what I do for my career and stuff, photographer, and just go out to shows all the time with local bands. And I was out at 2:00 in the morning shooting shows, and I was doing that since I was in college. And I was I'm getting older now, and I'm just like, I gotta take better care of myself. So I'm like, I would go to like McDonald's, 24-hour drive-through, Steak and Shake, Taco Bell, whatever's open. I would go and just eat at like 2:00 in the morning because I'm up and it's like it's already another meal time, and I'm just like, One time I did that, and I didn't feel really good waking up the next morning, and my body just rejected all of that, what I ate the night before, and I was sick for like 4 days.
Really?
So I had like a stomach flu because just with what I ate and stuff, and I couldn't eat anything solid for 4 days. And in that process, I lost like 10, 12 pounds. And after like I had to go back to work. I had to give up so many photo shoots that weekend. It was like a Halloween weekend back in 2019. But I gave up a couple photo shoots because I was like I had the chills. I had the whole thing. And I couldn't keep down food, and I was like, I'm really sick. So by the fourth or fifth day, I had to go to a shoot, and I was like, I can't miss this shoot. And I was still under the weather and with my stomach sickness. So I decided, I decided to go to the shoot, even though I was on the mends, but it wasn't like 100%. I felt a little like clammy and stuff. So I did the shoot, and I went all day, and then like the last hour of the shoot, I had to excuse myself because I couldn't keep down my lunch, and I was just in the bathroom the last hour. TMI, but no. So, anyways, when all said and done, after that last purge, I felt like this burst of energy, and I'm just like, wow, I'm running on fumes, but I'm just like, I feel so good because I just my body's just trying to find a, equilibrium. And I'm just like, it's trying to just purge itself of all that junk that I was eating the week prior. And after that, I felt like I need a change. I'm making a serious change. Because there's no way this is sustainable. I'm going out 4 times a week and staying up until 2 a.m., 3 a.m., going to shows, going to bars and stuff. And I was like, I can't be eating junk food before going to bed at 4:00 in the morning. So I was like, okay. So I started doing protein shakes, looking into that kind of stuff. And for the first 6 weeks of doing that, I didn't work out at all. It was more of just trying to get in a groove of just changing my nutrition. And that alone, I was able to lose 30 pounds in 6 weeks. So it was just all from diet. And then I felt a little weak, and because I had lost so much in a short amount of time, and I was like, I need to start going to the gym. I need to start using this protein that I'm eating, to actually, bulk up a little bit. So I was and I was doing some research on if you weight lift, you'll actually have better results with weight loss even. So I decided to, get a gym membership. Actually, my mom and dad got me a gym membership for Christmas that year. Nice. And I was like, okay, I'm going to use this. So this is right before COVID and everything. Okay. So from January 1st, where my membership started, all the way up till March like a week, like a March 10th. I was at the gym, like, and in that time I think I only missed like 7 days, and I just went hard. And so I'm just that was a whole thing. So then the pandemic happened, gyms closed. I was trying to still stay active, but it was just I had to be creative. Like a lot of people that wanted to stay in shape, or start getting in shape because they had the time. But you go to a Meijer, Kroger, or anywhere like a Dick's Sporting Goods online when everybody was doing curbside pickups. But like everybody wanted home workout gear, and everything was sold out, and they couldn't get it. So I was able to get like those those like spongy mats that people put in their laundry rooms and stuff, and people use them for workout mats too. And they like are puzzle pieces, and they put them together.
Right.
And so I was doing that in my garage, and then when it got warm, I put it on my back porch. Just started doing weights and stuff. And then I think April of 2020, I was like, well, I haven't been doing any cardio. My exercise bike broke, and I'm just walking in my neighborhood. I'm like, I'm going to do something I haven't done since high school. And that's when I decided to start running again. And I was like, I thought I would never run again because I was in track in high school, and just like, I'm never going to do this. Even then, I was not into running because I threw shot put and discus kind of stuff.
Okay.
So I was doing the running thing for a while, for like 6 months last year. So that got me, helped me stay in shape. May of 2020, when everything kind of started opening back up, May and June, like retail stuff, time frame, I ended up continuing to run all summer, but that was like my height of my weight loss journey. Just out of the furthest I went, and in May of 2020, I got down to like 185 pounds, and at that point, I had lost 75 pounds.
That's wild.
So since then, I've kind of just leveled out. I couldn't. It was so hard to maintain that. Mm-hmm. So my body was trying to find an equilibrium. So I would say I gained some of my weight back since then, but it's more of I'm not where I was when I started. I gained half of my weight back, but I feel energized. I'm not like pushing myself too hard because I feel like I did push myself too hard at the gym, and it was not going to be sustainable doing that kind of hard workouts and stuff. But here I am, still happy where I'm at. I'm trying to just, I go in spurts of like really pushing the protein shakes and going to the gym. It's like if I'm really busy now, it's hard to find the time for the gym. So
right.
I want to still do that. So
of course, and it is about finding that balance. And now it kind of sounds like it's like, okay, I went super hard at the start, but sometimes I feel like you have to. Maybe sometimes it feels like you have to do that to even just get yourself started. Where you're like, I'm either all in or not at all.
Yeah, you have to kick yourself. You gotta get yourself off the couch and just kick yourself in the butt just for those first few weeks of just trying to motivate yourself to get out there. But I feel like it was harder to. I feel like the last year was a challenge for a lot of people. Either you got in shape during the quarantine, the COVID stuff, or you gained weight. Like it's like one of those things. But or you just didn't have any motivation to do much. So. It was just trying to not get in a negative mindset of, I can't do anything because the gyms are closed now. But I just wanted to make the most of it. And then once the gyms opened back up, I started going again. And not as much as I was, every day.
Of course.
Kind of working out. But yeah.
So something I'm curious about, like, during, obviously another big thing that happens during a pandemic is, we weren't able to go do anything. No. So, of course, that impedes into work and creativity and all that other stuff. So it's so interesting to me to see, even to have that mental balance of, like, okay, some work has been taken away or I can't go do as much as I could do, but still have the drive to at least be like, okay, I am going to use my time and energy for health and fitness reasons. Yeah. So I guess what I'm asking is, like, what was that like for you? Like, did you feel like a bunch of work got taken away? And I guess also to preface with this, like, are you totally freelance with like photography and everything?
Yep.
So what was that like for you during all that?
Basically the 2020 lockdown kind of thing.
Yeah.
So like April of 2020, I always say it was the longest year. April 2020 was the longest year. Because it was basically 6 to 8 weeks of people just staying home, not really being able to do much. And that's when they tagged businesses of like non-essential and stuff. Mm-hmm. And photography was non-essential. Yeah. That whole thing. And that was a mess. But it was more of a, I felt like I wasn't going to let it get to me like, oh crap, I'm not working, I can't make money what I'm doing. But photography is still a passion of mine. I can still do. I can brush up on some skills, something I wanted to try, and not really have the, the pressure of like trying to fit it into a busy work schedule. But in that April of 2020. I don't know if you saw. A lot of people saw this on social media, but I had started just a personal project during April of last year. It was like a front porch project. A lot of photographers across the country did it, and I wasn't like the first one to do this. So, and there was a couple in Columbus that were doing it, and the person that did it in Columbus that I saw do it, I think Lisa Cave. Columbus music stuff she's involved with. Her and another photographer in Worthington, they went around raising money for like the arts, like a arts fund.
Oh, cool. Okay.
For artists, struggling artists and stuff. And they raised like $16,000.
That's wild.
And they wrote a story about it in the Dispatch. And so it kind of inspired me, but because I had a network of people that I would like to do this with, and it was more of I just wanted to capture people stuck at home. Families are sitting on their porch. I wasn't charging money, and I was like, okay, what charity? If they want to give me money, I'll start a fund for a charity or something. So I decided to do the Greater Columbus or the food bank. I'm drawing a blank. They're the Great Columbus Food Bank.
Okay.
And the Mid-Ohio Food Bank. That's what I meant to say. Mid-Ohio Food Bank. And so I ended up raising like $2,500.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it wasn't as big as theirs, but I was just doing it on my free time and it was doing it by myself. And some people liked it. Some people didn't like it because they're like, well, what you're doing is non-essential. Why are you leaving your house? And I was posting about it on social media. And I was just like, I'm not making money. And so, I'm not going to use any names for the people that complain, but
right.
There was a...
You're also not going out to harm anyone.
No.
Either. You're not like...
And I wasn't going into people's houses.
It wasn't like you were over there like,
no.
Let's just do things like normal. What's up?
Yeah. No, I wasn't hanging out with them. So literally, I would just someone would reach out to me on social media. Beginning of the project, I would say, who's available? I could be anywhere in Columbus. I could be in Grove City. I could be in Dublin. And in the same day, I'm like, I should just put a feeler out on Facebook. Hey, everybody, I'm going to be in Hilliard today. If you live in Hilliard, I'll go to your house. Yeah. So, because it was just a lot of driving back and forth. But someone had complained that I was doing the project, and the project almost stopped because I was really distraught and like why are people going after people that are doing something good?
Yeah.
And
which people love to do that.
Exactly, but the people didn't have anything else to do.
Right.
And I guess this guy that complained, his name was on the complaint form, and I actually knew this person.
There was a complaint form?
It was a complaint form filed to the county that I was operating
for you going and taking these photos?
Yeah, for free, and I wasn't even making any money.
Wow.
So
I thought you just meant somebody tossing a comment online I can't believe you're doing this.
No, they actually filed a formal complaint with the county. So I got a call from the county and said, hey, the Franklin County Health Board was just like, hey, we're just bringing this to your attention that someone made a complaint about your project. It falls under non-essential activity and all this stuff. And I was a little mad, and I got mad with the lady on the phone, and it was like, she's just the messenger, and all she said was just respond to the complaint. It doesn't mean stop. It's just a complaint.
Yeah.
So basically, they just wanted to hear my case. So I was just like,
that's good. Okay.
And so I made it was just a form, 1-page form, and had the guy's contact information that complained and all the stuff that I did wrong. But they, what was I saying? No, so what I did next was I just made a response of a 4-page response to say, what I'm doing is not what he says I'm doing. Mm-hmm. It was that whole non-essential activity. And I was like, well, it's not a non-essential business activity. I was doing it as a personal project. I wasn't going into the people's homes, so there was no social distancing,
being broken.
Yeah. And I wasn't the goal wasn't not to solicit business and all this stuff. And I know there were a couple so what I use as like kind of a comparison to my project, what I was doing, I quoted I showed, or I cited the Dispatch article.
Right,
I was like, I'm not the only one who's doing this. Like,
Yeah.
why is this guy coming after me? And I'm just like, I cited the Dispatch article. I said, and then I also cited another project. It wasn't photography related, but there was a group last year that was doing like curbside concerts.
Oh, okay.
Playing in like a back of pickup trucks from a local car dealer. I'm not going to say the name, but a local car dealership was sponsoring these curbside concerts. So I'm like, well, what is the difference between a musician sitting in the back of a pickup truck playing their instrument to make people feel better,
Right.
and then they say I'm not allowed to solicit business, but on these trucks were
Yeah.
the guy's
Right.
car lot, his advertisements all over this truck. You think
Yeah.
that's not soliciting business?
Right.
Whatever. Anyways, so I made my case. They got back with me, and they said I wasn't doing anything wrong. And they said, keep doing what you're doing, and just do everything that you said you were doing on this response. And I did it for another like 2.5 weeks, and then I knew they were going to start opening again, and I was like, as soon as I was allowed to work, I went back to it, charging money and stuff. And
Yeah.
some people tried to take advantage of that, and they're like, oh, aren't you doing those free porch projects? Well, I have an anniversary in May. And it's like,
Yeah.
I was like, well, for a small fee.
Yeah, you're like, hey, you remember when you did that thing for free that one time? Well, I have something else that I know you like doing things for free, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, it was, so really the hardest thing was, just trying to just be creative during a very weird time and not letting the, not being able to make money kind of thing get to me.
Yeah.
And, I would go on hikes. I would go on photo hikes with a friend, outside stuff. I would do hikes. And it was spring, so the weather was getting nicer.
Yep.
Yeah, so I made the most of it, and I can't remember the original question, but it was just
You answered it.
Sorry.
It was what what that initial kind of shutdown was like for
Yeah.
you, because again, finding that balance of like, all right, I do
yeah.
creative work for work, I can't do that. So then, what did you do to kind of like fill that void, which you 100% answered? I remember like I kind of did that same thing where like luckily like at that point in time I was living with a roommate, and we discovered that right across, like literally right across the street from us, like hidden kinda from the main road, was this park. Was just like this big park with like a I don't know, probably a mile long thing. I don't know. So we just started going over there like all day, every day, and we would just go on walks, and it was just like spending all this time outside, and like that was like a nice part where it was like, okay, I don't have to be trapped like inside all day. I can go find those other things to do. Like, so what was it like transitioning back into like a normal workflow?
Yeah, so May 2020 was it was to the day. I had it marked on my calendar. It's like they let retail open up, later that month too, and I was legally allowed to start charging money for my services for, because it was deemed non-essential. May 12th, it just sticks out in my head. May 13th, I was back to work.
Okay.
I took one more day, just kind of gather like what I'm doing, and but so I only had like half the month to make any money. So I only had like maybe 3 or 4 gigs, and I was working in a recording studio, like doing some stuff with some bands like that month, but it wasn't a lot of work, I'll just say, because people were still kind of skittish then, and no vaccines, nothing yet. This was way before then. So
And everyone doesn't have any money from them not being able to do anything either.
Exactly, and a lot of the venues, a lot of the restaurants still weren't doing like live music. They weren't doing them until like they were able to do outdoor stuff later that summer, because they weren't even open to build any of that like outside staging or anything. So really May and June were weird last year because just for that reason, just not being able to have the outside space to do like music or anything, because that's the only thing they could do, because they couldn't have inside. That was a weird time to think about now. Yeah. So I was just mostly working in like a recording studio. I had some photo shoots in a studio I was running out with that I'm in now permanently, but just little stuff. So every month after May of last year, I did a little bit more. I didn't go from 0 to 60 because that's not realistic for one thing, and people were still kind of timid, and I wasn't really doing any live music basically for like 4 months. I didn't have my first show until July of 2020. It was an outdoor concert, and I as soon as more venues started opening up for that reason to do outdoor stuff, I still wasn't doing it because I wasn't like in the mode. I was just so far away from it. It was nice just to take a break. But every month I was doing more like headshot stuff. I did a couple weddings last year, and just like I was pivoting. I guess that's the word they used last year.
Yeah.
So I pivoted my business and my like clients I would work with, and then once and then I really did that every month. I did more and more, all last year, and then February was when I was like, this past February 2021 was when I was like, okay, now I'm trying to gear up to go back out to shows. And I was going out, and I went out to a couple in February, and people were still kind of heated about it because no one was vaccinated yet.
Right.
And I was taking all the precautions and stuff, and people were hiring me, and I was just trying to be smart, and I wasn't trying to like be reckless or anything. Try not to get into drama like that. Just to, these people are having a show. Like, should we be going here? And they just have all these like Facebook wars about it. And it wasn't really until April where people felt comfortable enough to go out to shows again. So it was like 2 months of just trying to figure out that. And then, after April, May of this year, I've been just kind of nonstop working. So that was that's like the whole transition of going back to normal. So, and it's been the best year I've had since ever starting my business.
Yeah, no, and that's awesome to hear. Like for you, during maybe even during like any of this, or probably more so after the open up, did you see like, was there like a balance or one way or the other? Like, were a lot of your clients like, was it just like naturally they knew to come to you, or were you like starting to kind of reach out to people and be like, hey, just so you know, like I'm offering some headshots and stuff, like I'm trying to get this thing going again? Or did you see kind of a flow of people being like, we are ready to create some stuff and we need you to come do it?
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
I feel like people I have worked with in the past, I was keeping in touch with people. Everybody had to check in on each other last year. It was a hard year. But it just, as I started seeing more and more bands get back together doing their practices, and they know they're going to have live shows, or they just need promo, I'll do some of that stuff. And then just like reach outs, I'll just do what I did before the pandemic, just reach out to people that I see that are having a show. Say, hey, want some photos? Or
Right.
But for headshots, weddings, people inquire about those all the time. They've been doing that now more regularly, and I think the pandemic helped me step away from just like my groove that I was really comfortable with, and realize I shouldn't make all my business off of music. I love music, but it's just like I need that and more. Like I need to pivot, I guess.
Yeah.
Because and by no means I didn't stop working with musicians,
Of course.
but it's just it's not my main thing anymore.
Yeah.
So,
Well, sometimes it takes a really weird slowdown like that to help yourself identify. And like I've explained this 100 times, so I won't go into detail with it. Unless you're like, well, I haven't talked to you, so I don't know. But I did the same thing where it's like I slowed down and then saw a bunch of stuff that I was like, wait, I don't know if I actually want to do all of this type of work anymore. And it allows you, like, it's the classic like stop and smell the roses sort of thing. But in this case, like everyone was like forced to stop and smell the roses in a way. Or I guess it was more so forced to stop, and then it was your choice whether you smelled some roses while you stopped or not, or just waited to like, whenever I can get started again. Like, but I do think a lot of people did that though. A lot of people use the slowdown or the stop of like, again, terrible reason why it happened. But the positives that can come from that in some cases are things like that, where you can identify like, oh, maybe I kind of need to pivot a little bit, or maybe I'm putting too much of my energy into this thing and I need to kind of shift it into this, because it's very easy to get caught up in your own system normally in the normal world, especially when you're working out of self-employment and all that sort of stuff, where you're actively like, if I stop, then I won't make any money, and then I can't do this anymore. So you're always going 100 miles an hour. So it's interesting to see what can come from just a stop or a slowdown, because it makes you kind of take in your surroundings a little bit and maybe identify those things. It's like, hey, I love this, but maybe I don't love it or need it as much as I used to. So now I need to kind of like re-strategize a little bit, pivot a little bit, where it's still there, but this is going to take a little more energy and this is going to take a little bit more focus. take me back to like, when did your interest in photography even begin?
Yeah, I've always been interested in photography. I had a little point and shoot camera in high school, like middle school, high school. My parents always had like a little Canon, little point and shoot and stuff. I didn't take any photography classes in high school. I had this really weird attitude about art classes in high school, and I just didn't like any of the teachers at my high school or middle school. So I was like, I took my one art credit. I was in music. I was in band. So like, I didn't need to take another art credit.
Okay.
But I just had a little point and shoot. I wasn't really into photography, like hardcore. It wasn't until like my sophomore year in college, my best friend from high school actually started a band, and he ended up going to like recording workshop down in Chillicothe, and he's the reason why I kind of got into this. My best friend Spencer Wilson, he actually used to live in Columbus. He used to work at Guitar Center, and a lot of people knew him early on when I started my career. But I have him to thank a lot for helping me get that start. But anyways, so he was trying to make a name for himself in Columbus and stuff, started marketing himself, and he was going out to open mics every week, trying to get his name out there, has original tunes, he has the audio knowledge, he was doing recordings, of his stuff. He would record some of the cover bands he was in and all this stuff. So he ended up, this was 2013, I believe. Him and his mom decided to like hire a marketing agent, like a local here, just a company to do marketing for him. And one time I went to open mic, and they had already had this deal with this marketing agent, and they're like, well, we need content of his open mics. Mm-hmm. And I started taking video with my iPhone. I didn't have a camera back then, or I had a little point and shoot, but I was using iPhone 4, I think, to record video of my friend's set at open mic. And I posted it on his YouTube, and their marketing team like saw it, and they're like, hey, who did this? And my friend Spencer was like, oh, my friend Dan, he does like videos and stuff with his phone, and he knows a little bit about cameras. And so his marketing agent showed up the next week at the next open mic, and she was like, hey, you want to make money doing this? I'm like, sure. So I was in college, and I was just like, oh, cool, I have a job. And she had me come in for an interview, and I got like hired on the spot just to do like videos for them. And I was just working for like my friend through her, so it was kind of like a middleman situation. And I did that for like 9 months. It wasn't really long, but 2013, and then 2014, my friend had a bad relationship, like a falling out with this marketing person, but I was still hired, but I was in this really weird in-between place. So I had another like 6 months there, but I couldn't use any of her equipment for my friend's stuff.
Right.
So I was like, it's what forced me to get my own camera. So I was like, cool, I'm going to learn this. So I got my own camera. I don't have anybody to like worry about. I'm using their equipment, and I got really serious into photography. And I had my first camera, just making contacts, started going more open mics. One time I went to, when King Avenue 5 was the thing, the open mic host, Billy Zinn, which he's a big music guy in town, and a lot of people know him. He used to run the Shrunken Head open mic and all that stuff. But he ended up coming up to me at one of those open mics and said, hey, do you mind taking pictures of other musicians? I'm like, not at all. So I started like taking pictures of other musicians, and I started posting them on Facebook, and I started like adding these people on Facebook and tagging them back when Facebook tagging and reaches were like amazing.
Yeah.
After 2014, if anybody started a Facebook page, I'd be like, yeah, it's really hard to do this now because you have to pay to play. Yeah. Because I remember even like a Facebook, like if I make a post about open mic at a local open mic in Columbus, Ohio, it would have an organic reach of like 50,000.
Right.
What happened to those days?
Yeah.
Barely now you can get like 500 to 1,000. Barely. Like that's
barely.
Yeah. You have to pay for that now. And but yeah, I was like pushing 50, 75,000 people looking at the albums. I'm like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And it was like a lot of engagement because a lot of it was probably like 60 likes, which is a great just for that kind of a post. But
If I get 60 likes now, I'm stuck.
Right,
So
it's like, like on something like that. But anyways, like long story short, but I got more into it, went to open mic. I started having a network of musicians that would like, hey, that's the guy that took my photo, and they started referring me to people, just say, hey, come out to our open mic. And I was just doing the open mic circuit for like 8 months. And then it wasn't until August of 2014 I was asked to do a photo shoot for a solo musician. I'm like, cool, this is the first time everybody's ever paid me for my work. So $50, I did it. My first paid gig.
Yeah.
But I didn't have my business or anything. And just like, and then right around that time is when I kind of like had a really bad, like work situation with the marketing firm I was working with. And basically they were cutting my hours off my pay of hours I said I worked, which was really weird. My boss wanted to market for musicians that were like at Red, White, and Boom, and she would have me just go and just randomly videotape random musicians that didn't give me permission to. Oh. And it was really weird, and just like she was trying to do like marketing videos for musicians in Columbus, and by that time I knew like 3 times the amount of people than she did.
Yeah.
So it was just like, yeah, this is weird, and I was going on a trip that summer, and I just said to her, I was like, maybe we can just work on a contracting deal, like where I was part-time, and I had just graduated from Columbus State, so I wasn't taking classes in the summer. Said, let's do more projects. And by that time, I was doing like videos, content for her clients and stuff, just making little marketing videos and stuff, and she wanted to move into the music thing, and I'm just like, I know a lot more people than you do. I mean, I can share contacts and all this stuff, but I'm just like, maybe I can do this on my own. So I started thinking, well, if you need me, I would love to do my own thing. If you need me to work for you, I would love to still keep a working relationship. I don't want to be your employee. I want to be a contractor with you. And she went on the defensive and said, well, what are your rates? What are your rates? She just kept like drilling into me. It's like, I'm just starting the conversation. You don't need to like ridicule me right now. So I took a week off to go on a trip, and then I came back, and I thought about it more. I'm like, I'm done. I'm just like, I told her I was quitting because I'm starting at Ohio State in the fall, and I was, but I was like, I didn't tell her I was starting my own business.
Right.
And so I let that go, and I'm like, yeah, I don't really want to work with you anymore. And she's like, oh, we'll find someone else. I'm like, you're not going to find someone else to work for that much money. It was like $8 an hour. It was just like,
And that's also the problem. That's when it gets tricky especially in any sort of creative endeavor, when it becomes business. Yes. Is like, there's too many people. I call this the industry mindset.
Yes.
Because I think a lot of people just get stuck in that like business only, and they only think about like, well, how much money can solve the problem, and they're not really looking at like real solutions. It's all about, and again, in exactly what you just said, like, well, we can find somebody else to do it. And it's like, well, I get it. Yeah, you can fill the position, but shouldn't it be more about the relationships that you're building with people, and not just about go out and film this person and then so we can sell it to them for marketing material? Try to, like, yeah, sure, build a portfolio, show people what you can do, spec work, whatever you want to call it. But at the same time, like, it shouldn't just be about like how many numbers can we fill and who can we say that is a client of ours.
It's a numbers game.
Right. And so it's weird when it's weird seeing when people do that, but I'm also never shocked. I'm also like, oh yeah, I get it. That's how they're doing, throwing money at a problem and seeing if they can solve it. But I interrupted your story.
That's fine. And it was that around that time I decided to go on my own, August 2014, and then that next week I had that first photo shoot, and I was like, cool, I'm on track. And at that time I was transferring to Ohio State. I didn't really want to be. I was going to be a teacher.
I was going to ask, like, what you were going to
I was going to be
for.
a teacher. I wanted to teach history to like high schoolers, and so I was gearing up to transfer to Ohio State, and I did. I went to Ohio State, but I knew that summer, like, I had some just change of thought. Like, I don't want to be a teacher because the previous semester I had shadowed at my high school. Just got a bad taste in my mouth because I was really passionate about my subject, but the kids that you're teaching don't really care. I mean, I'm not gonna say all of them don't care, but like there's a good chunk that you're just like just talking like a brick to a brick wall. So they didn't have the same passion I did when I was in high school. And then when I transferred to Ohio State, I learned I was further behind than I thought. And I had already had my associates, and they wanted me to stay like 2 more years. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not giving you more money than I need to. So I ended up just finishing my degree, like my subject. I didn't become a teacher. I just got a history degree. But while I was there, like my first semester, that's when I started my business. So September 2014 is when I got my business officially started. So Mitchell Multimedia was born September of 2014. And you know, my music was my main focus back then, and it was for a good while. So. You know, just going through the years, just highlights, I guess. But yeah, it's been definitely a learning process over the last 8 years, yeah, 7.5, 8 years.
So you got the start with live photography.
Yes.
Via just being that person who's just going and putting yourself out there and just taking the photos, and then of course organically. One person notices that, the next person's like, well, who took those photos? Oh, that's that guy. I see you at the shows all the time. So when you make it an official business, did you immediately jump into like the freelance world, or did you kind of tiptoe and like, okay, I'm not working in the marketing agency anymore, but I am gonna go find we'll just call it a 9 to 5. I am gonna go find like a normal job to help me kind of transition into the self-employment world, or were you like, I'm just doing this, let's go?
I'm just doing it. Well, because I was a student too. So like I was living at home. I didn't have any overhead, and so you know I was living at home with my parents and stuff. My dad was helping me start my business too. So and I had my friend I was working with, you know, that got me that job originally with the marketing firm. You know, I was still friends with him and you know doing stuff for him, and his mom was paying me directly. So it was not as they were paying almost $3,000 a month for USB thumb drives to send to radio stations that they didn't get any airplay. It's like she didn't do that good job.
That's wild.
I was like, just pay me that.
Yeah, for real.
I didn't charge that much, but it was like,
but it is that, and not to trail
not
off.
a middleman.
Yeah, and it's not again that whole industry thing. It's like I see so many examples like that where it's like, hold on, you're paying X person X amount, and this is what you're getting. Listen, if we had X amount to do, like, this is all that we could do.
The value.
Like,
it's like the value. So I think early on it was more of, you know, like you were asking me about just jumping into like freelance work. It was more of, yes, I was just going going all in. And then I was 20 at the time, so I had to be careful because a lot of shows were like 21 and up.
Right, yeah.
I only had one issue because there was only like 4 or 5 months until I had would turn 21. It wasn't until January of that next year, and I started in the fall. So I got hired for a show in November of 2014 for like an album release party for a band, and it was a guy that I had known from going to open mic, and he was like, "Hey, shoot my show, you know, I'll pay you whatever you want." And it was at Tree Bar, one of the bars here in town, in Grandview, and I had been going to, that was one of the open mics I was going to, like every Wednesday, and you know, it was a cool crowd. The bar staff knew me. I don't really drink now, but like the door guy would not let me in at all. And I told him, I was like, okay, the band hired me. I'm going to be working. I'm not going to be drinking.
Yeah, you're not going into, yeah.
But they can't make exceptions.
Right.
And they don't know me. But the door guy didn't know me. The bar staff knew me.
Yeah.
I'm like, talk to the bar staff. They know me. I know that guy right there. The guy that hired me, you talk to him. And he was like, well, we can't make any exceptions. And I was like, okay. So I just, you know, I didn't want to fight him, but, you know, this is going to sound terrible, but like, I was like, well, my religion doesn't allow me to drink. I wanted to pull that card, and I was just like, the guy was like, well, this doesn't have to do with your religion and all this stuff, and I'm just like, that couldn't even work.
Right.
So it's like, I don't know, if you were really religious, you probably wouldn't be at a bar to begin with. But anyways, so the guy eventually let me in and he like just was, so he was like all mad and stuff, and he just like X'd my hands.
Engraved the
X's.
X's.
Like engraved the X's. It's like, if we see you drink, you're out of here. And it's like, okay.
You're like, dude, I literally
like,
am not.
Like, I am going to be working. Like, and so he let me in, but I only had to deal with that for like 2 more months and didn't really have any issues after that. But
you came back and you're like, remember me?
Exactly. So like, and then 2015, I started going to more shows because I was old enough and just like working with more bands, you know, and then I started expanding who I'd work with. I'd go to festivals. That was the first year I went to ComFest.
Oh, can I jump in real quick and ask you this? Like, even so, you know, you're completely freelance, started the business, self-employed. When you're still going to all these shows, were you still just going out of the passion of like, I'm still going to go take photos, and yes, I'm using it to network a little bit so more people know me and maybe hire me? Or did you get a heavier flood of people who were like, we are hiring you to come to the show, and that made you go to more shows?
It was a process, because I feel like in the beginning, like those first 2-3 years was more of, I'm researching what's out there. A lot of people, because, you know, at that point, a lot of people did know me, but it was more like the open mic crowd. That's why I started going to festivals myself, and that's what I was getting into, talking about ComFest and just like the like Independence Day festival that they used to do here in Franklinton. I would go to Worst Kept Secret Fest. Remember those? I used to go to those and just network with bands. And before I want to clear up something. I do not actually like the word networking. I always say this in all the podcasts I'm always in. Like,
I'm honestly with you there.
Okay, networking to me is literally handing someone your business card.
Yes, it's always what I think.
Networking is part of it. It's the umbrella is the relationship building. So it's more of networking is the initial meet and greet, but the follow up.
Yep.
That's not networking. Follow up is follow up.
100%.
You can literally hand someone your business card and say, "Oh, I went to a networking event." But if you don't do anything with it, you're not getting anything out of it.
See, I'm bad at the classic way of quote unquote networking. Like, I can't be that person who goes around the room and is like, a business card. Like, I do think this is honestly a detriment to me, maybe. But like, I just don't have it in me to kind of be in the sales mode a lot. I have to have like an authentic, organic conversation with somebody. And like, you know, if I go to a quote unquote networking event and I could have talked to 50 people, but instead I had really solid conversations with 2, somebody could be like, you should have talked to more people. But my hope and interest is, but I made really, really good relationships with 2 people. Yeah. So I'm 100% with you on like the weird kind of world of what networking can mean. And so I don't know. I've always had that ingrained in my brain, and just I've been to those kind of just meetups and stuff, and just like a referral based meetup, and you can just give someone your card and you don't get contacted, but it's more of having more authentic conversations that you can turn into like really like strong lasting business relationships. That's what I'm more interested in. Networking is part of it. I'm handing you my business card, but I'm actually going to follow up with you. Of course.
And it might be like 2 to 5 people. It's not going to be 30 people.
Yeah. And it's also like, are you following up with those people and like, hey, can you hire me? Or is it like, hey, would you want to go get coffee sometime soon? I'd love for us to get to chat more.
I've done that approach, but I've done all the other one too. It's more of like, because I did have those conversations like there, and I'm just like, okay, I know what they're after.
Exactly.
And so I'm just kind of like not beating around the bush. I'm just like,
well, then once you know, it's a lot easier.
Once you're in, I'm just like, I guess it's like it's obvious, but it's more obvious in some situations than others. So
right. And so that was kind of the phase that you went through then. Of you're still going to these shows, and again, you're shooting a lot of them.
Shows, open mics, you're doing it all.
Yeah. And so was there like a turn at any point in time that you started to see like, hey, I'm having to do a little less, just for lack of a better term, I'm having to do a little less selling for myself. Yeah. And the work and the relationships are starting to actually kind of do it for me. Like, and I don't mean overnight you started making millions of dollars, but more so like when did the struggle kind of lessen at any point in time?
Yeah, like, I think, but it went in phases, because I feel like in 2016, I kind of hit a breakthrough. It was like my first year I made like an actual profit with my business. I did a couple things where I was charging more money, and I was just like doing lots and lots of calling, like a warm calling market. And people I already had a network with, I figured out a way to just, reach out to people, pay more attention to like what people are posting, get involved with people. Like I was working with musicians, so like promote, like just tag them in a post where you're listening to their music, and then maybe that can, I was just thinking of different things I could do. But like 2017 was a little slower. I actually ended up getting another day job, working for a video production company, doing video depositions in the legal field. So that was really boring. Yeah. I did that for 2 years, but I was still doing my business then. But I guess it really didn't happen until really 2019. Really that was a breakthrough year because I went full time again. I had quit got let go of my day job that I had for 2 years, and it kind of forced me to like, crap, what do I do now, kind of thing. I mean, I had to pay my own insurance now. I'm just like, there's more expensive. I'm getting older. I'm about to move out of my parents' house, and like 2019 was kind of the year I had to like really just push my market, my self-promotion, and just like, hire me. And then I was like doing more just reoccurring gigs I had, established years prior. Just all that stuff just adds up. And that relationship building over the years, and that just culminated into a really good year of just me really figuring it out myself. And then 2020 hit, the pandemic, and then I feel like I'm back at that point where you asked me. It's just like, am I working less to reach out to people? I felt like in the last 6 months that's been true. It's just people will referring me more just for like headshots. I think in the business world, I think it's a little different from musicians, but like every single like industry will have different people who talk, about someone that helped them, and then they spread your name, and they like the work you did. They spread your name to this person, that person. So I feel like I've gotten a lot of stuff in the last 6 months that way. There's people trying to just referring me.
Yeah. So. I mean, that's one thing, even from like an outside perspective, like when I see you share things on social media and stuff, like I feel like you have like a lot of really solid supporters.
Yeah,
for the stuff that you do.
Yeah, just for organic reach and organic, reactions and stuff, out of whatever, like people have like thousands of followers, but you only see like maybe 50 people that like a post. Mm-hmm. Those are the 50 people that are actually paying attention to your stuff. Yes. But it's like, I don't really care about that. It's just more of, it's cool because it's always the same people, but it's just like, it just keeps me going, because it's like, at least they're getting some out of the post.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like I tag who I want to tag. If they want to like, even the people I tagged don't like it, whatever.
Right.
I don't care. It's more of, I'm doing this. Here I am. Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to be like the next like, influencer on social media. I'm not trying that, but I'm just trying to help the band. I'm promoting the bands too. So I'm still, whatever I do, if I post on my Instagram page or my Facebook, I'm just like, I'm not just promoting myself with the work I'm doing to get more jobs, but if you're like a band working on a project or something, you want this out in the world. And I've always like, that's why I think we've talked about this in the past, and I've read this so many times from you. I think it's more of, you do so much stuff for artists and stuff, but if they don't, it's up to them to post it. Mm-hmm. No one's gonna care. Like I did my job. But if you're not going to use it for what you're hiring me for, I mean, why wouldn't you want to use it? I mean, that's the whole point of hiring me. Like,
yeah. I'm like, wait, what?
The content. I think I've seen you post about this. It's just like, it's more of content. You hired me for a job. It's up to you to post it, but it's like, you got some solid stuff. I mean,
well, it's like, it even kind of, I feel like, ties into what we were talking about earlier with kind of the strangeness with the marketing agency that you were with for a second, where it is more about like the tunnel vision almost, mm-hmm. a complete disconnect of like, what's the intention or purpose that we are getting this done for? A company like that, which there are a lot of, see more of just like numbers and money and we just need this thing done. And I do think that, I will just say, maybe just like clients, to kind of sum up, like brands or companies or bands and artists, I feel like a lot of them look for hey, we know we need this thing done. We need photos of us in the studio. We need promos. We need live shots. But then it's like they don't always know what to do with it when they got it. They just know, like, we're supposed to have this. Here's money to someone who can come and do this. And then it's like, well, wait, like, did you have intention with getting it done? Of like, well, here's how we're, and I know it's just posting on social media, but like, it can go a long way. It's like, be excited to share those things. You don't have to want to try and be the next big TikTok band or something to post. It's just like, understand that like you can have stuff documented and you can kind of share it as you please, but there's a lot of cases where they don't actually do that. And I'm like,
just sitting in a Google Drive or a Dropbox. It's like, what's it doing there?
And like the analogy I always use with that stuff is like what I would classify like people like us who create for people, we put the icing on the cake, but they still have to make the cake.
They have to bring it.
Yes, like you still need to have the ingredients that make the cake, because we can put icing on a cake, but if the ingredients of that cake are sand and cigarettes and like dirty leaves, it's probably not the greatest cake, and it doesn't matter how much icing we put on top of it. It's not actually going to change really what's inside of it. You know what I mean? And that's, I think, something where a lot of people, again, companies and musicians alike, get kind of mixed up in a lot of that, where it is just like, we know we need this stuff done.
It's in the drive. We'll use it eventually, and just like, well, I'm not your storage service, but
Dude,
the first thing I ask them to do if I do something, it's like I try not to. Even this is a stretch, but like a lot of people, I tell photographers always ask me like they're getting started, like, oh, how much time do you let people to like so they can download their stuff? Right. And it's like, it depends on what it is. If it's a wedding, I usually do like 90 days because it's a lot of stuff. But like a band, I give them 60 days. And even then that's a lot of time for people just to download their stuff. But I have people contact me all the time. And if people are listening, they know who they are. But it's just like I'll get a reach out. Like once I do I pay for, now I had to upgrade. I have like a 200 gigabyte Google Drive. And just like, I won't buy the terabyte. And just like, I'm not your storage service, but like, right. But I'm just like, pay me to do the gig. I'll get you the finished photos. You download them. Do what you want with them. Yeah. Put them on your Google Drive. I'm not your storage service. Right. So a lot of times if I do like a big purge, I don't send any warning out. I should send like an automated message saying you have a week to download your images. But Google Drive doesn't. I guess it does tell you like what the last person did with it. But like even then it's hard to keep track of all those. And I'm just like, after 60 days, and if I see the date, because I put the title or the band I was working with on the date, if it's more than 60 days ago, it's gone. Right. And I get probably every time I do that, if I get rid of like 10, I'll probably get 3 or 4 that say, hey man, where's the photos? Interesting. I'm just like, you didn't download them? See, but that's when it gets into the weird thing that, again, I think a lot of clients do, where it's like, there's no urgency unless they make up that there's urgency. Yeah. You know what I mean? No, it's like, if they really needed the photos, it would have been like, yes, no, we have saved them into our Dropbox or our Google Drive or this hard drive or whatever. Get rid of them. Okay, go ahead. Hey, I've confirmed, I've got them. Or they've just made use of them when they, especially with something like a live show or something. Like, yeah, you can share live shots for months and months, but at the same time, that's also like kind of more active content. You're going to change your look up. You're going to change, again, the different venues, all that sort of stuff. You don't want every bit of your content to be from the one show. Like you're probably getting that every couple months of reoccurring. So it's like, even at that sense, the content becomes old at some point in those certain ways. Or same thing with promos or anything like that. Like you're going to change the way you look or member changes or whatever. Yeah. And I know a lot of people in the creative world who have started like charging for archives. So they'll archive. So rather than deleting, they'll take their stuff, put it on an external hard drive, make that just like a archive hard drive basically, and be like, yep, this is where I put everything that has expired. That's what I do. Active date. Yeah. And then you take it off and you're like, okay, you don't have that anymore, but I got it saved. But I also know some people who will charge to dig into the archives. Re-upload it. It's like, listen, I can re-upload the stuff if you need it, but it's X amount, because again, your window of use, you could have done anything with it during this time. I don't know if you ever have ran into this. Like when I used to shoot live, I would deliver a lot of photos. Okay. And I would always sit and like they'd use one of them ever. And I'm like,
okay, either I'm really, really bad at this, and these are terrible photos and no one's saying anything, or it's that the icing, the cake, the how much, what's the intention here? Because like, I would always go out of my way so heavily of like, I'm going to give this band so many live shots because I'm always thinking in a marketing sense. I'm not just like, oh, okay, if I'm shooting this show, they can use this to post tomorrow about the show they played tonight. I wasn't just thinking in that sense. I'd be like, well, I want to take photos of them like hanging out, loading in, like all this sort of stuff. Like, like the candid stuff, and then shoot live, and then also edit stuff in a way where maybe it did look like it could be from a different show. Yeah. Like, I would try and think forward so that I'm like, you guys are about to have a folder of 100 photos that can be used for the next 6 months if you need them. And I would deliver all these things, and they'd be like, sick, dude, these are dope. And then one would get posted ever. But then here's where it gets weirder, though, because it's not just about like, oh, my God, they didn't post all my photos. A month later, they'd hit me up and be like, dude, we really need new photos, man. Can you come do photos for it? And I'm like, wait a second. I'm like, yeah, totally. You can hire me again. I'm down with that. But I tried to set you up so you didn't have to pay me more money this quickly or somebody else. Have you ever ran into stuff like that? Like not even with bands, but just with anybody. It's so strange.
Like companies will get headshots too, like that, because they'll be like, "Okay, we added a new person, but can you redo this one because we didn't like the other one, or like they didn't have a good hair day and they want to redo it." It's like,
it's like, you're like, okay, sure. And again, it's that weird like in the moment they identify a problem and they're like, okay, let's just throw money at the problem. It's the urge. Yes. It's the like, we just need this fixed, and we're not really going to plan for it or have intention behind it. It's more so, hey, we need this done. And it's weird to be the creator and try to think forward or try to think ahead for these entities of like, I'm trying to kind of set you up so you have more to pull from
Well, that's the thing too. It's more of, I look at it as if bands ask me or they're not sure what to do with the photos because they could be starting out. And I said, you hire me for promo, like album promo is obvious. They're going to use it for their album. But for general promo or even live shots, it's like you use that to book more shows.
Right.
That's the most obvious one. Mm-hmm. It's like you make event pages. The venue will ask for a photo. There you go. You get hired.
That's the other thing too, is there's multiple uses for one type of content or one photo if we're really narrowing it down. Like one photo can be used for multiple different things. It can be used for a press photo. It can be used for an event page. It can be used to outreach to somebody that you're trying to connect with. It can be used for social media, a press kit. Like there's so many different uses that a single piece of content can honestly get you. And it's not just like, I do the same thing with musicians and music videos. It's like, all right, you can use this music video. Yes, it's boom. Here's release day. Here's our sick vid. Whatever.
Yeah, that's what you hired me for. Yeah.
But it's like you can get way more uses out of different sections of this video, and you can turn them into GIFs and use it as random content. If you need filler content, you can share different sections of it. Like, there's so many different, and I could rant about this for
Sky's the limit.
Yes, I could talk about this for probably too long.
See, I just remembered you talking about this in the past, and I was just like, that'd be fun to bring up.
See, now you got me all fired up. Like, use your content smarter. No,
use your content.
So I want to dive back a little bit because I don't think I knew that you originally were going to school to be a teacher. Like, where does that interest even come from? Like, what made you decide I want to go be a teacher?
Yeah, so just when I was in 8th grade, so I was like 13, 14 years old, I had some, like, I was really passionate. I loved history because I just loved watching, like, History Channel when I was little. We used to go on family vacations to, like, historical places. We weren't a beach family. We were a historical place family. That's dope. Like a state park family or, just cheap stuff. It's not exotic beach vacations, you know. So there's, like, 2 types of families. But so it was like middle school. I had some really good history teachers. I was in high school. I had some really good history teachers. In 8th and 9th grade, I was just like, okay, I love this subject a lot. I want to teach it. So it was like I knew pretty early on when people graduate high school and they have no idea what they want to do, or if they're in 2nd semester in college and they still don't know what they want to do. So I felt like I knew from an early age, but I in turn I felt, maybe looking back on it now, I feel like that maybe, I got burnt out because I was pushing too hard to be that, even though I didn't want to be at that point, because I was working towards something so long, for 4, 5, 6 years, I was just like, this isn't for me.
You're talking about being a teacher?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm just like, in the high school, all through high school, I knew I wanted to be a teacher. It wasn't really until that, that summer, like transition to, going to Ohio State and just really kind of diving into like really what teaching means. Because I feel like there's only so much they can teach you about teaching when you take education classes. And I took before I graduated Columbus State, I took like an intro to ed education class. I took like an education psychology class. The psychology class was cool. The intro to ed class, kind of like what all the teachers are expected to do in the state of Ohio, all the certifications, learned out the process, how to become a teacher in the state. And no, that didn't bother me or anything. I thought it was a little weird because on the syllabus, it didn't require us to do like an observation or a shadow. It was just an intro class. But I was just like, before I transfer to Ohio State and spend a lot more money, and before I really pursue this, maybe I should actually just do it on my own and just reach out to my high school, my local high school, and just say, hey, I'm still interested in becoming a teacher. Can I shadow all these, like all my history teachers I had growing up? And that's when it kind of hit me where it's like, I'm really passionate about this subject, but not everybody is, kind of thing. And I'm just like, I want to teach people that are passionate about this. And so I was just like, teaching maybe, I'll probably look at teaching high school still. And that's when I had that, like I was behind in my, like how many years I'd be in college, and OSU makes you do like another year, but you get your master's and all this stuff. Sorry.
You're good.
So I was trying to figure that out, and then at that same time, like I told my dad, I was like, I don't want to be a teacher. He was really upset. He was like, what do you mean? What are you gonna do? And all this stuff. And at that time, I had a fallback. Even the photography thing didn't work. I was like, cool. I like the national parks. Like I like parks. I like outdoors. I was a Boy Scout and stuff. I like the outdoors. It's like, and I like history. Well, if I get a job with the National Park Service. So I was looking into like within the National Park Services, they have like divisions and stuff, and like you can go work for a park. You can work for like the head office in DC. You can do all this different stuff. But I wanted to combine my love of history to like with photography. I was trying to be really creative, like what I'm really into. So I just typed on their website like photographic opportunities and stuff. And most parks like have staff photographers and stuff. They're like seasonal positions and none of that. And I was like, these guys have been shooting for 30 years plus. They're really experienced. I'm just starting out a couple years into it. So I decided to like, okay, what else can I do? So I was looking at just job descriptions that they had at the National Park Service for internships. And one was like historical preservation, where sites all around the country will apply to become a national site, like a historical site or a national monument, even a national park. So they would send teams out to these locations. They could be already a state park and all this stuff. So they're just not random places. Like a house where a president was born could be on that list to be surveyed. So they would go out and survey these sites. Part of the survey was to do actual surveying, but then it's also taking pictures of these sites. And I'm like, okay, cool, I can do that. So I was trying to be creative on like how I could combine my multimedia knowledge and my love of history. So if the photography gig didn't work out, I could go right into like working with the National Park Service, try to set up an internship. That fell through, not because I, wasn't eligible. It was more of I had been out of school at that time. I had been out of school for a while. And because I eventually graduated, but I jumped in trying to figure out the internship too late because I only had like an 18-month window of when I graduated college altogether to pursue that.
Okay.
And so I had to make a decision by 2015, 2016, like, okay, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to be doing photography. so I had to make that urgent decision, I guess. Like it was more of it was like a time constraint. Like I had to decide if I was going to seriously pursue this, and I'm glad I didn't do that because working for the government is an interesting thing in itself. But like in 2019, I don't know if you remember, they shut down the government, and all these workers were furloughed, and people didn't work for 8 weeks in the beginning of 2019, and because the government is silly sometimes, and they shut things down, and the only thing that stayed open was the post office. and actually, it's funny too, because I had to get my passport that year, and I was going to Australia that year, and I had lost my passport for a couple years before that, and I called, and someone picked up, which was surprising, saying, "Wait, you guys aren't like furloughed? You guys are still working?" And she's like, "Yeah. The post office and the passport and the military are the only 3 things that don't get affected by a government shutdown." I was like, okay. So I was like, so I put in for my passport. But anyways, it was one of those things where I didn't want to get myself into, like, it's all funding based. I'm just like, I'm just going to go work for the private sector because I'm just like, I want to do something on my own.
Right. So a bunch of questions popped up that I want to ask you. Before we
that's
dive
fine,
into those,
that's
actually, I want to start with one side question.
Okay.
What do you feel like is the coolest thing that you learned in the like education psychology class? Because that sounds really interesting.
Oh, yeah. So I think it was more of like learning developmental, like mental, like brain development in kids. Is really interesting on like why certain things are taught at certain ages. Specifically, I don't really remember a lot about that class. Sorry, it was a few years ago. It was like 10 years ago now. But yeah, it was cool. It was a cool class because it was just talking about like learning styles and stuff. Like you have to teach in a certain way that appeals to a multitude of learning styles. And I couldn't imagine what it is now for teachers to cater to so many different types of learning. So
yeah, learning how people learn and like why they make decisions, all that sort of stuff. Like all of that, I'm always
psychology.
Like, yeah, I'm fascinated with that, but was never a good enough student or interested enough in being a good student to ever delve into.
Well, I think I have my textbook if you want to borrow it.
Hey, you know what? I might just take that and just do some reading on my own. I've learned now as an adult, there's a lot of stuff that you can just learn by yourself. Yeah. You don't have to, but then no one would really listen to me if I started talking to them about psychology. I'd be like, I learned it on my own. And they're like, yeah, I bet you know a lot, pal. Like, go do your podcast.
I read One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and also saw the movie.
Yeah, they're like, okay, dude, I get it. So something that I think is an awesome quality in you is I feel like you, and everybody has bad days, so I'm sure you're not always on, but I feel like you really exude this like just positive energy. And you seem like a very just like thoughtful person and helpful person. And like you kind of always want, I just feel like you always want to do good. Yeah. You just seem like a really good dude.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
And even hearing some of your explanations of making those choices, I promise I'm going to tie this together, making those choices of like what you wanted to do for college and what you didn't want to do. I feel like you were pretty conscious, even if you were just gradually figuring it out, you still were pretty aware of like, okay, well, if I go to school for this and this might happen, if I go to school for this and this might happen, but here's my interests, here's how I want to make sure, maybe for a lack of a better term, it sounds like you were trying to make sure that you were going to live, at least on some level, a fulfilled life that you would enjoy.
Yeah.
And again, I think that a lot of that comes from just whatever cognizant, aware attitude you had during that. Where does that come from? Like, was that something that was instilled in you growing up? Was it always this like positive environment of like, do things that you enjoy doing?
Yeah.
Or like, what was that like?
Yeah. So growing up, just generally speaking, like my parents were always encouraging just for my sister and I just to be involved with as much as we can. My parents didn't force us to do anything we didn't want to do. I think it was my parents from a young age let us explore different just aspects of life. And we learned from just experience. We weren't like we weren't handed an explanation all the time. It's like, they would help us out with some stuff, but it's just, they let us really, my sister and I, my parents let us just explore the world and just kind of that from that early age. But then as soon as I got older, it was more of, like I said, I was in Boy Scouts and stuff, and it was more of it's that attitude of self-reliance and just kind of, okay, I conquered this fear, where to next, or who can I help get to where I am, and just kind of have that, we're all on this together kind of thing, just having that positive attitude. My wife tells me that I have such a positive aura. She's like, I've never met someone with a positive aura. I'm like, is that even possible?
Yeah.
So I'm just like, I don't know. I'm just doing me. Everybody does them, It's just, I'm not trying to like change somebody. I'm not trying to like change someone's mind. And I think as a society, just within the last 15, 20 years, it's kind of been weird on how people treat social media in that regard, because I've made this comment recently because of a lot of the high profile attention Facebook's been getting the last 2 years of just privacy and just like what people see as an advertisement. But it's just like, I remember signing up for Facebook when I was in high school. It was a social thing. But when I went into it for my business, in 2014, I was like, cool, this is a platform where I can share my art. I'm not there to stir up any political strife. I'm not here to like pick a side. I'm just here to share my art. That's what I'm using this for. Now it's harder for businesses to, because you have to pay to play and all this stuff. It's hard for artists to even like get noticed on these social media platforms. But it's more of, I'm not here to bring anybody down. I'm here to be a neutral party. Some things, people want to know where you stand on things, but I don't owe anybody anything as an artist. And just like, it's my expression of what lines up in my life is in my art, is in my work. And I don't know if that sounds sincere, but I'm just I'm just trying to like, I feel like we've gone so far from like just people. If you don't, I mean, I'm not saying I agree with everybody who posts anything. Everybody's like that. I'm not going to agree with everything you say. You're not going to agree with everything I say. But I'm not here to change your mind. You're not here to change my mind. I'm here to share. We're on a neutral ground. You know what they always say, like cooking is like the best way to like bring people together, and food. But I treat like art that way too. I mean, cooking can be an art. But it's more of, I want to be I'm always thinking this collaborative space. I'm not thinking of, oh crap, he's doing the same thing I'm doing. I'm not, and that's my attitude. I think the attitude is a big thing. I learned from an early age. I'm just like, I want to work together. I like working with a team. And I think when we met, you were doing your live stuff. I didn't see you as like, oh crap, now another person doing live shots. I was Tiara Suggs. Yeah. She was early on. She was a really good inspiration for me. Just having my first camera, and I was seeing her do live photos like when I first started. I'm just like, I went up to her. I was like, hey, if I get in your way, let me know. I'm not trying to steal work from you. I'm just trying to learn this. Let's work together. Let's build this relationship. Yeah. So let's build this professional relationship, because you never know when someone, you're like, hey, you reached out to me a month or two ago and you asked me if I could cover something, or like I was like, cool. Or like, Ross knows who I am. So it's more of, if I see like another photographer at a show, I'm not going to be like, oh crap, I wonder if, he's going to steal my shot.
Right.
I'm not in that competitive mindset. I'm in that collaborative mindset where it's like, cool, he has really cool, it looks like he got a cool angle. I want to talk to him. Like, hey, dude, like, nice work. Like, I looked you up on Instagram. I like nice shots. Like, let's like feed off each other. Like, let's do this. And that goes back to like the broader scope of just, you asked me about being positive all the time, and just like, I feel like when you create a collaborative atmosphere rather than a competitive atmosphere, I mean, there's going to be competition in everything. And there's going to be cliques. There's going to be different, every city you're in, there's going to be something like that. But I'm not, if that's okay. Like, if you want to if they want competition, that's whatever, that's them. But I think if people reciprocate the positive, like, atmosphere, the positive culture, the collaborative culture, that's how this culture grows. And just like, and then that becomes more of a thing where people want to be a part of more, I feel like. Because they're like, if it's more of a competitive atmosphere, it's like, oh, I can never make a break in this. And just like or get a break in just trying to get into the scene and stuff. Like I went to a show recently. Like the last year and a half has been great because I've been like the only photographer or like one other photographer. But I went to a show like over Halloween weekend and there was like 4 or 5 other photographers. And like that was the most I had seen in like a year and a half at one show. And I'm just like, yeah, I was like, this is weird. I haven't seen this in a while, but no, I'm always talking to people and just like reaching out to other photographers and stuff. Say, hey, if you ever need anything, just let me know. Same here. Like just, you could be in a bind sometime. You just never know. Mm-hmm. Why would you want to burn a bridge or not even knowing that person?
Yeah, I feel like I don't know if I was always like this. I think I had I would want to lead with like, oh, I want to help people, I want to connect people, blah, blah, because I could always see the connections. Yeah. But I don't know if emotionally I was always like that positive reaction of like, oh, they got that gig and I didn't or whatever. I'd be like, what? How did they get it? No, what the heck? Like blah, blah, blah. And I do think over the last couple of years, I think I've really been able to kind of take control of that because I can 100% sit here and say that like I just get enjoyment out of seeing people chase and accomplish their goals or try something that maybe, and it doesn't even have to be a life-altering career move, just like try something. I love talking to people about that. And more so I just love connecting people. Like when I reached out to you for that thing, I'm like, okay, who would be a good fit? I don't want to like, is the job something that I like, am I just going to throw somebody into a mess or am I going to put them into something that I trust that both sides will benefit from? So, okay, cool. Dan would be a good fit for this. They'd be a good fit for Dan. Okay, that's when I'm going to make that connection, not just throw money at the problem and connect somebody. And again, I think so much of how I look at things, and it's not that I'm a genius or that I have the best idea. It's not any of that. It's just like, I just feel like I always look for the intention and purpose with so many things. And I'm always like, how can I create a web of, hey, do you know this person? Like I told you before, I was like, hey, I hope you're cool with, I tossed your name on a list of people that I sent to friends who do a podcast too, because I'd love to see you on that. Like, it's not like I put your name on a list. It's like, hey, no. I just want all these people to work together in all these things.
And see what happens.
Yeah. And sometimes like, I almost feel like it's a flaw that I have because like, sometimes like people will tell me something they want to do and I get so excited and I'm like, here's 100 ways you could do it. And if you ever need my help, let me know. And I might not be able to solve it for you, but I could connect you with this person who can. And then it just goes on like this roller coaster of just like, we're up here when you tell me and then I just shoot down and now I'm just on the ride after I'm like so excited. And sometimes I'm like, dude, like you're giving this way too much energy. You're probably more excited than this person is about doing their thing. Like, but it's just because I just feel like I look for how everything can connect. Like I have a friend who recently told me he really wants to get into acting and his dream is to act and he's only done like 1 or 2 things ever with it, but he's never really pursued it. Ever since he told me that, I'm like, okay, well, like he probably doesn't have any headshots, so maybe he should get some headshots and whatever. Okay, so there's step 1 that I can help him get headshots. And then 2, okay, well, I don't know a ton of actors or casting agents or anything, but the ones that I do would be good to link with him and then see what happens with that opportunity. Maybe they do hit it off and it does work and then he gets his first gig and then maybe that leads. And I'm always like, again,
you're thinking ahead. You're thinking that ahead.
Yeah, and it's not that it has to come back to me where he's an actor one day and is like, oh, thanks to Raw. Like, no, it's not that. It's just this weird excitement that I'm like, I can see how this piece fits with that. It's like, this is a really stupid example, but did you ever watch a Lego movie?
A Lego movie? Like, I've never seen
the Lego movie.
No, I've never seen
Okay, well, one, you're missing out on a amazing movie. Literally an amazing movie.
I've seen parts of it, yeah.
But, like, something in that movie is, like, the master builders that are the Lego people, like, they'll be, like, floating through the scene, and they see all the pieces, and then they, like, know how to build the thing. And, like, I literally, in a way, I'm, like, I'm not going to call myself a master builder, but I'm like, I feel like that's how I look at things all the time. I'm not so much like tunnel vision and like, yes, Dan and I are talking right now and he said he likes photography. That's cool, man. You like photography. I'm going to keep, and again, I've already known you before this, but it's like, I'm going to keep that in mind and I'm going to make sure that if somebody ever is like, hey, here's a photo gig, and it's like, cool, I'm not really doing those that much anymore. So who are people that I would trust giving, that job to, or connecting them with, so then maybe it leads to something else. Like, I always feel like I'm constantly looking at all of those pieces.
You're
of
the
like,
architect.
of like, how can I put these things together? And it might not end up being anything. Yeah. I'm not saying it's going to end up being special. No. I'm not saying I have some special touch for something. But I'm like, why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
What's the risk?
Exactly. Exactly. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. If it doesn't work out, I can connect you with somebody, and you could talk to them, and you might not hit it off, and it might not even work. Okay. Gave it a shot. Like, that's okay. You know what I mean? As long as it's not some like huge, terrible thing that happens at the end, like, then it's fine. And I don't even know what got me on that tangent, but I think it does kind of come back to just like the excitement of seeing people just do things.
And if they succeed, that's awesome.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And leading with that, for lack of a better term, like the positive mindset, or just leading with that energy of not making everything competitive. And because again, it's like it's
easy to do though.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it all has to do with the culture. I feel like we are like just being a sports town. I mean, we don't have a pro team here. We have MLS and hockey, but it's like, I feel like Columbus is, I've been a part of, you've been to those meetings, the Music City. Columbus always wants to try to, they want to put themselves out there as being a very artsy scene. It is. Like, I would say Columbus is a very, I've seen, I've been in the scene long enough. I've almost been in a decade, but I've seen it go up and down like a roller coaster. But it's like, I feel like we're like right before the pandemic, we were on a big up. I always gauge it on like new bands that I work with, because if there's newer bands that are more and more newer bands that are reaching out to me, means more and more people are starting bands. Mm-hmm. And so pandemic, I felt like it was a flat level. There were some bands that quit and stuff, but I feel like we're on this up again. And I'm just like, I just ride the waves. And I feel like, going back to, that whole collaborative thing, I just want to work with many people as I can, so I can like put them, out there. And I feel like we live in a city where, scarlet and gray, Ohio State country. And, there's nothing wrong with that. But I feel like sometimes the art scene and the sports kind of scene collide, because I feel like in sports you're so competitive versus collaborative. But art can be both, and that, there's 100 other people that are painters that, that want to get in an art show, all this stuff. And there's always going to be in competition and everything. But I feel like music is going to be more of a collaborative field than sports. If it's not, it's like, how would I say it? I think most of the attention, like a lot of the backing in the city for like money and stuff, is a lot of just sports stuff. And and there's a great arts community that's funded by a lot of that stuff, but just I feel like we need to shift, a little bit more collaborative. We're still that city that like feels like we think of something and we think we have the best idea and it's never been done before. But if they do just, 2 or 3 more steps of research, you'll find out that, St. Louis has done this for 10 years. You know what I mean? So I would run into this just traveling with my work and stuff, like going down to Austin for South by Southwest. I see so many different kinds of things happening around the country. And it's like, I feel like if just people just take that extra step, unless like, you came up with a great idea here in Columbus, but it's just like, how are you, even within Columbus, like people will come up with ideas and they think they have the idea, but the next person like, they were doing that like 2 or 3 years prior, but in the same city. So are you just trying to outdo each other, or just like, Right. So I feel like there's always that in the art scene, because if someone puts on a festival, like if they have an idea for like a festival of different types of bands and say, this has never been done before, this is a great idea. It's like, it is a great idea, but someone was already doing this like a couple years ago. You know what I mean? So you just have to do a little bit of research.
Yeah, and it's more so just about like, again, the purpose.
Yeah,
why do you want to do that?
What's your intent? Your intent.
Do you want to make that festival so you can outdo the last one that was here? Or is it just like, hey, let's just try and create a cooler community. Let's just try and make a cool.
Why one up? Why do you want to one up? I mean, why is that the goal?
Right. Yeah. Right. Do you feel like, and this even taps a lot into the social media stuff we were talking about earlier. Do you feel like people naturally lead with that like negative and or like competitive nature, and it takes like more work to see something as like, oh no, how can I collaborate, or how can I be proud of that person or happy for that person, rather than like, oh well, I don't have that, or I could have done it better, or
I feel like it's a good question, because I feel like here's the other side of social media. Yes, we are sharing our work, but a reaction really a genuine, like, a feeling for the person that's reacting to your post. It's kind of like the personification of feedback, or the analogy of feedback people give to each other, because it's more of I always say feedback is a gift, even if it's bad, because you don't learn until someone gives you good feedback, meaningful feedback. I feel like we live in a world where, instant gratification. I think Facebook and social media has done this, where if you hit a like, you're like, cool, I'm validated. I'm like. And even like going to the comment, it's like, do they really mean their comment? Because they have this anonymity of a window, of a screen, behind a computer. I can say whatever I want to. Like, even if it's positive, how deep does that positivity go? It's like, if you were telling me this, what kind of genuine conversation were you having? Did you actually like my photo, or are you just blindly liking my post? Like, did you actually go into I feel like when people post, like I do this still too, if I post an album, there are a couple people that will like every single photo, but like if people love the whole post, it's like, you didn't even go into the whole...
right.
Just the fact that I posted is the reason why you liked it. It's like...
Yeah.
Maybe you didn't like that photo. I don't know. Like, I guess people aren't that forward, I guess, now, because they know with the blinders, they got these like, I'm just gonna like react to the whole album and not even look at it. Cool, Dan Mitchell posted something sweet. Like,
yeah.
it's like, is it the most honest feedback of society? Like, as we get like with our social media, it's like, maybe they don't like something about like our post, or
it's weird.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like there's no real way to gauge it, because like, yeah. I mean, there are friends of mine who like, and I don't mean this in a bad way at all, but like, there are friends of mine who, I'll see, and they're like, yeah, dude, saw you've been doing so much stuff and blah, blah, blah. And, they'll ask something about something that maybe I posted a couple days before, and they're like, oh, really? I didn't see that. But then it's like, I look at it and they liked it. And I'm like, okay. And it's like, it's not ill intent on their side. It's not, they were like, I don't care. But I think it's the, monster that social media is, where you are just, you're scrolling. You're just scrolling, scroll. And it's like this weird, I don't even know what it gives to you to do that. It's a distraction. I don't know. And then you do that first long enough, and then you're like, what else can I be distracted with? Like, what, whatever. And it's like, and again, I'm not saying I've always been perfect with that, like, at all. Like, I used to use my social media to post trendy things, because I would get a bunch of likes. But then when I stopped doing that trendy stuff, my social media tanked completely, and I was like, whoa, how much of these people that were following me actually liked this? Like, how much actually liked, and how much just clicked like? Yeah. But now it's like, it's still that weird battle where, again, there's friends who are like, oh, I didn't know you were doing that thing. And I'm like, I post about it once a week, and I see you like them sometimes. So like, I don't know, and not everybody has to go in, and not everybody has to go in and look at the full album of photos. Not everybody has to go in and read the super long caption and stuff. But not everybody has to do that, but I will still sit and question, like, well, why not though? There's not an obligation of like, you have to, but it's just like, well, what else, what are you doing? Yeah. Like, dive into that long caption where this person's telling their story about this thing, or like, that was one thing. Like, another thing that made me so stoked to see your fitness journey is I wanted to see your updates, not just the photos of you,
at the gym,
getting in better shape and stuff, but like, well, what's he putting in his caption? Because I'm more interested in how he, and I remember you would post and be like, I did not want to go to the gym at all today, but here I am at the gym. That to me is the valuable.
More,
I'm like, that's what I want to see. Like, I want to go in and read that paragraph to know what was going through your head.
It's substance.
There's substance, yes. And I do think that a lot of that gets lost in social media and the way that people use it. And I even have that conversation with people who are like, I hate social media. And I'm like, listen, I get it. It can be, terrible, but it's a tool. And how are you using that tool? So much of what we've been talking about is connecting with people and building relationships and sharing our art in whatever form we create it in. That is how I have now come to know, like, that's how I want to use my social media. Yes, I'm going to share this cool thing that I made, and I hope somebody thinks it's cool.
Yeah.
But even when they don't, I'm still going to do it the next time. And the next time, and I'm still gonna share that stuff and put those things out there.
You're staying true to yourself. I feel like it's more of a testament to, like, you're just putting it out there, and if people want to see it, they'll see it.
Right. And 100%. Like, I think for most creators, whether they want to openly admit it or not, I think it can kind of go without saying with a lot of creators, would we all love for our work to all go viral? I feel like the answer is yes for most people.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you want all this appreciation of, like, no, we officially recognize this thing you did being awesome, but not creating for that purpose. And when if it doesn't happen, when it doesn't happen,
it'll consume you.
Yes, and then it's like, well, what are you creating for? It's such a cliche question, but, like, are you creating for yourself? Or are you creating for social media for other people? Like, what is that balance?
But I feel like even, like, viral, just speaking of like people going viral, or just even the celebrity culture, it's like, do you want to be successful or do you want to be famous? They're two different things. I feel like in this world, people, like, blur those lines, because I feel like to be successful it's subjective. It could be literally mean to me. I'm making a living and I'm paying my bills. That's success.
Yep.
You don't have to be famous.
Yeah.
Famous comes with other things.
Right.
Yep. A lot of attention. So it's like, do you want to be famous or do you want to be successful? You can be famous and successful, but it's like there's a lot of things that come with fame.
But how sustainable is that fame that you get, especially, if you're creating and using the viral example. Cool, you get a post or a piece of art that goes viral, and sure, that might bring a lot of new fans or followers, whatever, to your art, and maybe that brings some success, but also, how sustainable is that?
Yeah.
How because then it's like, do they come to you for this one thing, and is that a lot of what you do, or is it one aspect of what you do? And then do you have to try and keep up with that every single day and feed them the same thing? And then it's like, oh yeah, but they're buying more of my art, so all these new people are coming in, but they're buying more of my art, and it's like, okay, that is awesome, I'm stoked for you, but are you getting caught up in the machine? Like, because or maybe it doesn't last. Maybe that one thing goes viral and it gets big, and then the next day or the next week, how many of those people stuck? How many of those people are still around for you and your creations?
To get that genuine connection.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, how many of those people are digging into that? And I know that maybe that's just a lot to ask from social media. Maybe I'm living in this magical world where I'm like, everyone's authentic and everyone reads everyone's captions. Like, I get it. Social media was designed to kind of just distract and do, all that sort of stuff. Like, it is literally something that's so easy to get caught up in because it's made to do that to you. Like, that's what's happening. But I just feel like you can take control of your experience on social media a little bit more. Just like you were saying earlier with, like, I'm not going to get caught up in the drama side of things.
Political drama.
You know what I mean? I want to stay out of that. I want to share my art. I'm not going to add a negative comment to something. I'm not going to question this, whatever. And it's like, if I really want to dig into it, maybe I'll just send that person a message and we can actually communicate.
Yeah.
We could actually talk,
But not out for your dirty laundry to dry.
No. Yeah. And so I don't know. That's a whole
another can of worms.
Yeah, a whole other conversation. So looking forward, now it's like we're not technically post-pandemic, but we're whatever, coming out of it. And even, like, looking forward, like, I'm actually so interested, like, do you think you'll ever do, and I'm not asking will you go be a teacher, but do you ever see you doing anything like you were trying with the national parks and stuff like that, where you're blending more of, like, your photography and media work with some form of being an educator or leader in something?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not going to turn down opportunities that may present themselves and, like, apply to my life at that time. But in the future, I just feel like, maybe I might teach something about photography. Just like, I don't know. I wouldn't say education comes in all different forms. You're going to be like, teachers not necessarily like the actual position of, or the career of being a teacher could be in different forms, different fields. And like people teach at their jobs, they instruct people, they train people, that's teaching. So I could be in a different capacity, teaching somewhere else. So I don't know. People always ask me for advice to get started with photography. That's teaching.
Yep.
So it's like I work at World of Photography. I come and teach people how to use a camera. So it's like I'm teaching.
Exactly.
I'm not capital T teacher. I'm lowercase t. Teacher.
Exactly.
I'm teaching. I'm like
Yep.
I'm showing someone else that not necessarily they don't know what they're doing. I'm sharing my knowledge and my experience with them for them to get started and whatnot.
Yeah, and that's literally why I ask, because it's like, it's not so much like, yes, when will you go be a teacher? But it's like, but what ways are you going to find to kind of still fill, that passion of sharing knowledge with people, sharing advice with people or opinion with people, or just having genuine conversations with people and then seeing kind of what they take out of that. So I guess even broader question. If you were to look ahead, like what would you see or want to build, like looking forward, horizon? Like is it like, I want to grow, the multimedia company more, or I'm actually wanting to get, we talked about pivoting earlier. Like I'm doing a little bit more of this. Like if you were to look forward, like, what do
I feel
see?
like I've actually sat down recently because after I just got married this year, and my wife is, she's thinking about having, more of she wants to do some stuff for herself too. She sees me like I enjoy running my own business and stuff, and it's been appealing to her. And it's like, I feel like a lot of my goals are aligning with hers now too. And I feel like I want to, I had this like 7 to 10, like I'm in years. I just celebrated 7 years. So I'm approaching that decade mark. And I'm like, okay, cool. I have financial goals for year 10, but going beyond financial goals, it's like, for what does that look like for the business? How do I get there? And I feel like I'm at the point where, I'm in a happy place where I'm charging enough where I need to be, I'm not overpriced, I'm not underpriced, pricing my services. I'm taking on different types of clients. I'm not going to be working with the same. So since the beginning, I've had different phases where I've increased my prices. I lose some people, but then there's always those people that will always go. They don't care about what it costs. It's just they see you grow and they're going to stick with you if they like your work. But I'm not working with the same people I was working with 8 years ago. Like people, I just got asked to do a family photo session, and it was like a fall mini session. It was like 100, like I was doing them for like $150. Some guy was like, "Hey, Mitchell, you still doing them for $50?" Not even 6 years ago I was doing that, but like 50. Like he was out of it. He didn't know, and I'm like, it's like I didn't take it personally, but it was just like, it's just interesting to see, like, okay, I'm at year 7. This is what I'm pricing myself now for my services, my time, my worth. Year 10, I have a financial goal, but I think more so what the business is going to look like as a whole. That's in the like I'm a sole proprietor, and I don't have anybody that works for me. I feel like I've tried doing interns in the past of people that have reached out to me and say, "Hey, I would love to come to a show with you just to see what you do." And I was like, "I don't mind. I just can't be teaching you because I'm actually working," kind of thing. I'm not there to babysit you, kind of thing. I think the music side of that is really hard to do with another person that's not really on your team and wants to get into it. And like, I don't mind them shadowing me. It's just I can't actually talk to you, and like, because I'm in the zone. But I feel like I see myself in that 10-year mark, maybe having somebody work for me, not necessarily shoot pictures for me, but like an administrative assistant. Just like, because I'm gonna have more bookings and just like run the day-to-day. And like, I don't want to be doing that stuff. I want to be out there actually doing the work. I love editing. I love photo editing. Video editing is a different story. I was like, video editing takes a lot longer, but lucrative. It could be more lucrative to do photo editing in just a shorter amount of time. So I feel like I want to get to the point where I can just hand a lot of that day-to-day admin stuff off, and just keep doing. I want to still do music. I don't want to step away from that entirely. I mean, I know a guy. One of my studio mates. He's in his 40s and he still shoots bands. But he goes to Express Live and shoots music. I was like, I don't even want to do that. I just want to work with local bands.
Right.
So like,
yeah.
My point is, it's just I'm just trying to like keep my mind open the next few years, just taking opportunities. Really, I can say no to things. That's the biggest thing. I think a lot of people, when they start a business, they don't know how to say no. They'll just take everything. But I feel like that's part of that whole risk-taking thing as well, because you don't know until you try something. But I think I've had enough years of experience under my belt where I said, okay, now I'm like, I don't want to do that. Like I could have done that guy's photo shoot with him and his wife for $50, but I'm not. That's not me. Like he said he would have his brother-in-law do it. I'm like, okay, that's cool. But I'm just like,
right.
I didn't take it personally, but I'm just like, it's like I'm not in that market anymore. So it's like I feel like by year 10, I'm going to be more selective. Every year I do this, I'm more selective on who I work with, which isn't a bad thing. I mean, I've heard like, production companies that, if it's less than, if they have a $5,000 budget, that's people's bottom like dollar they'll work with people, because it's like for under $5,000 it's not worth my time, it's not worth the production costs, it's not worth paying people that are on a production team. It's like, if you're not paying us $5,000, we don't want anything to do with you. Mm-hmm. And there's in different industries different levels of like clients you're working with, like all those benchmarks just go up and up and up, and it's just like, okay, if they're not billing, if they're not if you're not charging them $10,000, and it's not worth your time. It's that whole the upper echelon. You just keep going up and up and up in the industry. It's like you're not going to work with small potatoes, but it's more of the things where you have to like just think of like humble beginnings too. You have to remind yourself constantly when you get big, just look where you came from. I mean, sure, yeah, you might do a friend's wedding for half of the price, but you're not doing that all the time. So right. It's just like, but by year 10, I just feel like I'm just going to have a different kind of mindset. Just, I'm working my way up to that and just kind of making it more measurable, as I guess a business is when they say that. So.
Yeah. Okay. I've only got a couple last questions I want to toss your way. So, we've heard the story up until now, and it's kind of just like, hey, one thing to another. Looking back in the journey, was there ever a place in time where you were like, I don't know if this is actually going to work out, and I don't know if I need to completely change everything that I've been trying? Was there any of those moments, or were you always sort of positively sure, like, no, this is a challenge, I got it, time to keep moving?
Well, it's like I feel like I was saying earlier, that roller coaster. 2016 was a great year. I had lived in Texas for like 6 months of that year, was doing lots of music stuff down there. I was living with my friend, and I was there for South by Southwest. I moved back in the summer that year, and that summer, stepping away from my local bubble, I was able to like, okay, cool. If I want to make this like a sustainable business, I need to start charging more. I need to start reaching out to people more, start marketing myself more. I was confident enough that I can cover a lot more bands. And then towards the end of that year, I was looking ahead for the coming year, the next coming winter. I was like, wow, my winters are always slow. And I just remember in 2017, the start of 2017, I didn't have anything booked for like 6 weeks, the first 6 weeks of the year. Through January, the whole month of January, I think I had two gigs, like a couple $100 total. Like, and then February, I was just like, what the heck am I doing? So I was still going to open mics. I was like, I need to start reaching out to people. I just need to start putting myself out there again, networking, and then building a relationship. So I ended up, because I wasn't seeing the results with the photography business, I was just like, I have to get a day job. I have to. But even though I don't want to say I sold out. I don't want to say that, because I feel like in Columbus, Ohio, most people for musicians, for artists, for creatives, most people have other jobs.
Right.
I mean, I have a part-time job now, but I'm doing well for my business, but it's a camera store. I'm doing something that I know.
Yeah.
So when I went that route, taking the full-time job, I was full-time salary. I had Nothing like that. And for someone living at home who was 23 years old, I was like, sure, I'll save lots of money living at home and having a salary.
Yeah.
So I was like, they just gave me a salary, a number, and I was like, sure, I don't even know if this is high. I don't even know what this is about. So they could just, and I felt like that was that point where like this business isn't sustainable. I have to be doing an actual like established job, working for somebody, working for the man, making money so I can actually enjoy the things I do. I like photography. I can still do my business. But then that's when I realized in my career, it's not a value that you can put on yourself. It's the time you spend on yourself. Time is money, that whole saying. If you realize that money is one thing, but if you just spend all your time doing your 9-to-5 job and you don't have any energy to do anything else after work, and you just have this routine every day, Monday through Friday, you get 2 weeks off the year. That's it. And I did that for 2 years. I loved having the job security, but I feel like because felt like I was so secure in my job, there was no urgency. There was no like, oh, I didn't have any gigs this weekend, but I'm getting a paycheck in a week, so I don't really care. I was still shooting pictures. Other times of the year, I was a little slow, and I was like, thank God I have a day job. Mm-hmm. But other times, I'm just like, I'm not putting in the effort I would if I had a full-time job. So I feel like there's this catch-22 where it's just you can have that job security and not really, like, you can have all the money, but you don't have any time. But then it's like if you work for yourself, you have all the time in the world but no money. That's what my dad would always say. So it's like
accurate.
But I feel like that experience of working for that other production company for 2 years doing video deposition in the legal field, it was like it taught me, every job I've had working for somebody else since I was in college has taught me how to run a business, how not to run a business, just creating good business habits. I look at them and say, okay, cool. They were doing something good. They were doing something bad. Don't do that. Do that. You know what I mean? That whole thing. Mm-hmm. So I feel like my experiences weren't bad in that I learned something. We're always learning every day. We're learning something. And so I feel like the more you can put yourself out there in other different types of situations, you can use that and kind of just navigate the world and with something that you enjoy. So I feel like I'm at this point where, fast forward, I work at a camera shop, and I took that job last end of 2020, it's the fall of 2020, and I was like, okay, cool. I'm rebuilding my business. I'm not working as much as I was the year before, but it's like I still need I need some income, and I'm doing something I like. I'm still there right now to this day, present day, November 2021, and I'm just. I enjoy what I do. I'm part-time. I didn't take a full-time position because I knew I wouldn't have the energy to do my business and do the camera shop. So I'm just like 3 days. I'm staying true to myself. I'm eventually going to replace my income. I cover my monthly expenses, my personal expenses with that day job. And then whatever I make from my business, I can pay myself after taxes, all that stuff. And I make a good living. But now I'm at the point where I like that work still, but am I really 100% in my own business? I feel like I'm at 80%, which isn't bad. But I feel like if I had that extra time, it's about time. It's not about money. To a lot of people, they had to figure out that money part, but it's like, sure, take the salary job. It's like this, I think our society, I think you see all this stuff about people quitting their jobs, this massive exodus of people our age leaving their jobs. It's not about money. It's about all the other stuff. It's the paid time off. It's the maternity leave. You keep seeing articles about this. People don't want to work for employers right now because you don't give enough for your employees. You don't invest in your employees. And I feel like there's this huge change. And I think I've just, as creatives, if you're able to make a living, and you have been in the last 10 years or so, it's like you were ahead of the curve. You've already established something, so you don't have to rely on a 9-to-5 so much. You don't have to have a job in the traditional sense. So to wrap things up, I'm just rambling now. I'm sorry.
Great. It's great.
So it's just stuff I've been really like kind of pushing here lately because my wife is thinking about like having a career change, and I'm just I want to help her. She wants to do her day job still, but she wants to do something for herself. And I'm like, I think that's a huge trend with people our age now, because I feel like people aren't fulfilled because they're just doing that 9 to 5 grind every day, and just like, that's not, what is it? Work to live, not live to work. Mm-hmm. So I've heard that recently too, and it's just like that's a good saying, because it's just, I feel like our society dangles this like job security thing in front of our faces, even if our bosses are pieces of crap. Like you just need the paycheck, but it's like, are you really staying true to yourself? Are you really spending the time for you?
Yeah.
And I feel like our society is transitioning into this, like, I am worth more than what my employer thinks I am. Mm-hmm. And I feel like as a society, we're just moving that way.
So if somebody right now actually was listening to this and they're in that period where they don't know how to take that first step, they don't know how, they just listened to your whole story about, going and putting yourself out there and going and shooting shows and doing all these things, for free, and then leads to pay, all that sort of stuff of like how you started your business and everything that you just talked about. Even though you're just trying to wrap it up, I'm going to get more out of you.
Yeah, no worries.
If somebody's listening to that right now, and let's even take it out of the creative or business world for a minute, even if they're scared of an upcoming possible fitness journey that they want to try.
Okay.
So let's just say a journey, a life change in general.
Yeah.
If they were to ask you, like, dude, Dan, like, I don't know how to get started. And like, what do I need to do? What is it? What are you sharing with that person?
I always say, just take a risk. I think people are just so scared to take those first steps. But I always remind yourself, what do you have to lose? Like, you don't know until you try. Kind of an attitude. Because it's just, but for some people, it's harder to see that end goal. Because I feel like we're so secure with like where we are at, and it's just like, you want to change, but I feel like something, and it's more, I think it's very personal. I feel like we, as a society, we want to help people, but when it comes down to it, it's the person, like, it's them that has to make in the end, the actual initiative. I can't force someone to do something. Sure, I can inspire people, but it's like, if you don't, so this is going back to the career thing. If you don't do the groundwork, you're not going to get something out of it. I feel like a lot of times we get into this, and it's an instant gratification generation thing too, where I feel like we want to do X, Y, and Z, but we want all this to fall in our laps, all these opportunities to fall in our laps. But sometimes you just have to get out there and do it. Like, take that risk, take those risks. You don't know until you try. And I feel like if someone was going to on just a weight loss journey, I would say it's a mindset. I actually had a physical thing that had happened to me, and it just triggered in my brain, say, you are out of shape, you are on the couch, you can't get up, you're like shivering, you lost 12 pounds in 4 days, you're throwing up everywhere. You need to do something. My mind is like, okay, fix this. So I feel like it's very a personal journey. I feel like, but sometimes it's like our society wants like people to show them like 100% like how to achieve something. But if you don't put your mind to it, if you don't put the groundwork in yourself, it's not gonna come. Not everything's gonna come, be on a nice platter on a table. You know what I mean? So,
Dan, I've got one final question for you. So I wrap up these episodes the same way, same question for everybody.
Yeah.
So if right now we've been given some advice, we've been talking about the fitness journey, the business, the creative, all that sort of stuff. Now, in general, I want you to pretend like everyone in the world is listening to you speak right now on the other end of that microphone.
Yeah.
So you've got a live mic connected to everyone who can hear you, and you get to share something with them. What is it that you would want everyone to hear?
Oh, man. I just feel like go out there with just the best attitude you can. Like, just take every day. What Robin Williams, Carpe Diem, and the Dead Poets Society. It's just, seize the day. Like, every day is an opportunity to make a connection. Every day is an opportunity to, put yourself, further than you were the next day. Even if it's just little strides. Just do something that empowers you. Take that self. It's all about your self journey. It's your life. Like, it's you that wakes up every day. It's you that goes to bed. What you do in between that, it's all up to you. So,
I love it, man. That was such a fun conversation. You know what? Now
I
looking
didn't want
back
to ramble,
at it,
man.
this is literally the place to make rambles happen and share all the stories that you want to share. I'm actually kind of glad that we never got to actually like sit down and really have a long conversation until now. And I'm stoked that we just made that happen. So before we officially say goodbye, let anyone know who might want to dig into all the stuff that you do. If you want them to find you around the internet,
of course.
Where can they find you, your work, all the stuff you're involved with?
So photography pages. So I have a website, www.mitchellmultimedia.com. Social media, Mitchell Multimedia. You can search on Facebook and Instagram. I post a lot on Instagram here lately. So follow me on those guys if you want to see more work. So.
Yeah, dude, I cannot thank you enough for
Ross,
sitting down with me for 2 hours and just having a fun chat. Man. This was an absolute blast, dude. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, man.
We did it. We did it, dude. All right. Hope you liked it. Hope you enjoyed that one. As always, with every single one of these, I know that I did. This was a conversation that I've been wanting to have for a while. So shouts to Dan for being down to be on the show. And talk all about every single thing that we dove into. Dan is just one of those like awesome people that are honestly just so fun to talk to. So fun to be around. I don't know. He just carries this like happy energy about him that honestly is like infectious to be around. So I can't wait to see what Dan keeps creating and to see where he takes all that he's doing. So if you happen to miss it there at the end of the episode, you can support and check out Dan's work by following him on Instagram at Mitchell_multimedia. Toss him a follow, and hey, hire the guy. Let him take your photo, then you can get to hang out with him. You can get to know him. He is just one awesome dude. And one last reminder before I officially say goodbye, wherever you are on the internet, hop over to iTunes, Apple Podcasts, toss us a rating and a review. Feedback is, of course, welcomed. I would love to hear it. As long as it's not like too mean or anything, because that will indeed make me very sad. But subscribe on iTunes while you're over there. Follow on Spotify so you never miss an episode, whether it be these full-length episodes or any of the 15-minute Fridays. Follow us around social at WYDH Pod. But that does it. That's another episode. It is time to say goodbye, and I will wrap this one up because, once again, I have talked more than I probably should have. 53 episodes down, lots more to go because the stories ain't stopping anytime soon. So thanks for listening, thanks for looking, and as always, I'll be back next episode with a brand new guest that you may or may not know of, sharing their story that you for sure never heard.